When you first see the Saurer M6, you immediately understand that this truck was not built to show off. There is no chrome, no dramatic curves, no attempt to look fast or glamorous. It looks like what it truly is, Switzerland turned into a machine. Serious, concentrated, a little bit square, but absolutely confident that if something heavy needs to be moved, it will get done. The Saurer M6 does not scream for attention. It simply stands there, like a quiet soldier, waiting for the order to move. The story of the Saurer M6 begins around 1940, when Switzerland, surrounded by a Europe at war, had to think very practically about defense. The country was neutral, but its mountains, valleys, and narrow roads demanded vehicles that could carry troops and artillery to remote positions in any weather. Ordinary civilian trucks were not enough. So Adolf Saurer AG created a new heavy off-road truck, the Saurer M6, a three-axle six-wheel drive machine with one clear mission: transport soldiers and guns through terrain that did not really want vehicles at all. The Saurer M6 was a true 6x6. All three axles were driven, giving the truck impressive traction on soft ground, snow, and steep slopes. The basic flatbed version had a curb weight of about 6,900 kilograms, approximately 15,212 pounds, and a total permitted weight of around 9,400 kilograms, approximately 20,723 pounds. The payload was rated at 2,500 kilograms, approximately 5,512 pounds. But as usual in military service, crews often pushed these limits. The truck measured roughly 5,455 millimeters in length, approximately 17.9 feet, 2,000 millimeters in width, approximately 6.56 feet, and about 3,150 millimeters in height, approximately 10 feet. It was not a small vehicle, and when it rolled into a mountain village, people noticed. Under its rather tall front end worked a six-cylinder Saurer CTDM diesel engine with a displacement of about 6.75 liters. It developed around 85 horsepower, which does not sound impressive today. But this was a low-revving, heavy-duty diesel built for endurance and torque, not for racing. Contemporary data do not give an exact torque figure, but for a 6 3/4 liter diesel with 85 horsepower at modest engine speed, engineers estimate a range of roughly 300 to 340 newton meters, approximately 221 to 251 pound-feet. That is the kind of slow, steady pulling force that lets a truck keep moving uphill with a full load while the driver is still able to breathe. Power was sent through a Saurer 4-speed gearbox, combined with a transfer case to feed the three-driven axles. The layout was simple but robust. No exotic solutions, no unnecessary complications, just solid mechanical components that could be maintained by Army mechanics with ordinary tools. The top speed was around 50 kilometers per hour, approximately 31 miles per hour. On paper, that seems slow, but on twisting Alpine roads with a full load of soldiers or artillery shells, you do not really want to go faster anyway. One of the most impressive aspects of the Saurer M6 was how much human cargo it could carry. In the troop carrier configuration, there was a driver and 2 passengers up front in the cab, and up to 20 soldiers on benches on the flatbed. That is an entire small unit on one truck, moving together, arriving together, and, with luck, returning together. The high canvas-covered body protected the troops from wind, rain, and snow, though some soldiers later joked that the M6 offered all the comfort of a wooden bench in a church, just with more diesel smell. The Saurer M6 came in several important versions. The most common was the open flatbed for troop and cargo transport. Another key variant was the radio truck with a fixed box body, carrying communication equipment that allowed Swiss forces to coordinate across mountains and valleys. But perhaps the most iconic role of the M6 was as an artillery tractor. It was frequently used to tow the Swiss 10.5-centimeter field gun, a serious weapon that needed a serious towing vehicle. Seeing a column of M6 trucks climbing a mountain road, each pulling a heavy gun and carrying a full crew, must have been an impressive sight. Of course, any truck with this kind of capability comes with a few compromises. The M6 was tall and not exactly graceful. Its height of about 3 meters made it slightly top-heavy, and drivers had to respect that on tight curves. The fuel tank held around 90 liters of diesel, roughly 23.8 gallons, and consumption under load was in the region of 40 liters per 100 kilometers, roughly 5.9 miles per gallon. For a heavy six-wheel drive military truck of the early 1940s, that was acceptable, but no one would call it economical. When the M6 went to work, you could almost hear the fuel disappearing from the tank. On the positive side, the Saurer M6 earned an excellent reputation for reliability. The CTDM diesel was a sturdy unit, designed with generous safety margins. Many components were shared with other Saurer military vehicles, which simplified maintenance and spare parts logistics. The frame was strong, the axles were built to handle rough use, and the suspension, while not exactly soft, survived continuous service on rough, unpaved roads. Mechanics appreciated that. Once you had fought your way to whatever needed repair, the parts themselves were solid and well made. In use, the truck showed a clear personality. It did not like to be rushed. It preferred a steady pace. Drivers who tried to treat it like a sports car quickly learned that the M6 responded better to patience than aggression. But if you respected its limits, it rewarded you with dependable performance. Whether pulling a gun up a gravel road, carrying a full load of troops to a training ground, or crawling through mud and snow, it did what was asked without drama. The Saurer M6 was built in respectable numbers for a small country. The Swiss Army ordered around 338 trucks, plus another 16 specially built as radio vehicles. Production continued through the early and mid-1940s, and the trucks remained in frontline service for decades. Many served until the late 1970s, when they were gradually replaced by more modern Saurer two-axle and three-axle trucks. Some M6 units then found a second life in civil defense or were sold abroad, where they continued to work on airfields and in technical units far from their original mountain home. Today, surviving Saurer M6 trucks are rare and highly valued. A few beautifully restored examples can be seen in Swiss museums, where they stand as reminders of a time when the country invested heavily in self-reliance and mobility. When you stand next to one, you notice details that photographs do not show: the thickness of the metal, the precise way the panels fit, the solid feel of the handrails and hinges. Everything suggests a machine built to last, not for a few years, but for generations. If you listen closely when an old M6 starts up, you can almost imagine the past returning for a moment. The starter turns, the big diesel coughs, then settles into a deep, rhythmic idle. You can picture soldiers climbing aboard, an artillery crew checking their equipment, a convoy forming in the early morning light. It is not just a truck anymore. It is a moving piece of Swiss history. If you enjoy discovering machines like this, the quiet heroes that carried troops, guns, and supplies through some of the toughest terrain in Europe, make sure to subscribe. There are many more legends waiting to tell their stories.